to Frequency Fun Friday! Who's having fun today? Because I am! I bet that it hasn't been so fun for the past, week or two. I've gotten some feedback from people about higher anxiety, not feeling connected, all these unsettling feelings. So I wanted to let you guys know that you're not alone. There's been some crazy energetic stuff happening in the atmosphere. So just be a little more gentle with yourselves and remember to think kindly. Okay, don't focus on all that crazy stuff because it gets crazier as we feed our body those thoughts. So today we're going to focus on thoughts. Because thoughts are things, and they actually have frequencies. I know that it's backwards because of Facebook Live, but I just got these new awesome boards printed from some of the illustrations in my book, which is called Let Me Break It Down For You. It's about understanding energy and frequencies in all forms. So today's particular frequency that we're going to be focusing on is thoughts and how they pattern our brain as a child, because our brain patterning gets set between the ages of newborn and age of 5. It's really some interesting stuff. So I hope you stick around for Frequency Friday so you can learn all about your thoughts. Real quick, I know it's backwards, but this is a frequency chart of thoughts. You can see guilt, shame, anger, fear, all that is very low frequency, obviously. And then, actually, it's not on here, but the highest frequency thought that you can have is actually gratitude. It's between 7 and 800. And you can see when you get up to the 7 and 800s and stuff like that, it's a place of enlightenment, right? And when you can approach your daily thoughts and your feelings with gratitude, like, it is kind of a form of enlightenment, because instead of focusing on all the stuff that makes us feel bad, we just need to be grateful, even if it's something as simple as, thank you for my sight, thank you for having 2 legs to be able to walk outside in this beautiful day today, right? So I encourage you to practice more gratitude in your day, because that is a very high vibrational frequency thought. So I'm going to talk to you about a bunch of really cool information and fun, yay, because it's Frequency Fun Friday. So what fun would it be without some fun information? And just bear with me here, because it's pretty deep, pretty intense. I'm going to talk a little bit about brainwaves, like alpha, theta. I'm going to talk about some dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins and oxytocin, and what happens when, hi everybody, thanks for joining. Hey AJ. So I want to let you guys know what happens when we think, what happens to our body, like literally what happens when we have some thoughts. So first, let's back up here. I want to talk about, you guys have probably heard of an EEG, right? It's a machine that measures your brain waves. That was developed by Hans Berger in the 1920s. He was a scientist in the 20s. So he made an EEG machine that was able to record the first electrical frequency transmitted by the human brain. And guess what that frequency was? No surprise to me, it was 7.83. Now, if you've been following me, you'll know that 7.83 is also the Earth's pulse or heartbeat, otherwise known as the Schumann resonance. And it comes up a lot in the studies of frequencies as being the very peaceful, meditative state of mind. So, he named that the alpha wave, which is actually between the frequencies of 8 and 13 hertz. 7.83, if you know math, you round up, right? Okay, we won't get into that. Okay, so I want to talk about, actually, first thing I'm going to do is talk about how we pattern our brain, and then I'll talk about all the thoughts, because this is the most fascinating information that I've come up with. Right. So, brain patterning, see, is a map that's set inside of our brain as we develop thoughts and feelings from the age of 0 to 5. So, let me just read a couple little studies. This is all scientific studies, by the way, that I'm reading from. This is not my personal assessment of anything. So obviously the first 5 years of a child's life is fundamentally important. They have a direct impact of how children develop learning skills as well as social and emotional abilities. Children learn more quickly during their early years than any other time in life. 90% of a child's brain develops by the age of 5. So by the age of 3, it is 90% fully grown. So what happens is a newborn baby has all of the brain cells or neurons that they'll have for the rest of their life. But it's the connection between these cells that really makes the brain work. Brain connections enable us to move, think, communicate, and do just about everything. The early childhood years are crucial for making these connections. At least 1 million new neural connections, or synapses, which is the signals that get sent to your brain, are made every second. How crazy is that? 1 million synapses go off, signals to your brain every second. Insane. Okay, so now I want to talk about what brain patterning is and how that happens. So a map is set in our brain after repeated behaviors and reactions from experiences that we don't even remember. That is crazy. So if you can have an experience at 6 months, 1 year, 2, and you not have any memories of it, but the trigger and the response that happens inside your body stays. So for parents out there who think that arguing in front of a 1 or 2 year old child isn't going to affect them because they can't understand what you hear, that's completely false, because babies and children, they pick up energy. That's all they know is energy. They don't comprehend words or anything like that yet. So even though they don't understand the actual words that are being said, they can pick up on that low vibrational frequency, and it doesn't do very good things to their body. So if we're experiencing something at 2, and then we apply that feeling and response at 3 and 4 and so on, it becomes an unconscious map. One that doesn't change unless we repattern it. So let me see this again. Your brain map that is developed between the age of newborn and 5 does not change unless we consciously repattern it, which is not easy to do, right? So if we don't change our thoughts and how we react to things, things won't change. Think about how that affects our whole perspective on life and the future of our health and happiness. So here we are as adults and we're reacting. I'm sure you've heard things of like triggers, stuff like that. We react and we're like, God, why did that make me so angry? Or I'm not even in a bad mood. What's going on, right? Well, that's what's going on. We have patterns set in our brain and triggers and responses that were developed at a very young age. So if we don't pay attention to these as adults and try to repattern them and learn how to work through them, then we're going to keep having these triggers and these responses. So for those of you just joining, I wanted to show you this chart again. I know it's backwards, but these are the frequency vibrations of thoughts. So down here we have very, very low vibration, guilt, fear, anger. And the highest form of thought that you can have is about 800 hertz, and it's gratitude. So remember to focus on having more gratitude in your life. So now that we know about brain patterning and how things develop, let's talk about how things happen as we become adults, and about neurotransmitters and thoughts. So thoughts are things, and I will continue to say that, okay? Every time we have a thought, it sends an electrical energy through our body. So even just thinking about a fearful situation sends negative pulses throughout our whole entire system. Just as thinking of a pleasant situation will send positive vibrations throughout the body. However, the brain cannot determine where this information is coming from. It cannot distinguish fantasy, such as television, from reality. An emotion sends a current through the body regardless of where the source comes from. So when you watch horror films, stuff like that, and you get scared, you know, that actually causes your body stress and distress. Even though your conscious mind knows that it's not really happening, your body responds as if you're in fear, right? So just be really mindful of the programming that you watch, because it's sending triggers and responses to your brain that may not be what your cells are going to be happy with. So I want to talk about the brainwaves that happen when we have thoughts and when we're sleeping, because these and why people may experience disconnect, inability to focus, anxiety. I say inability to focus, but they've renamed it ADHD or whatever. So I want to talk about a little bit what brainwaves have to do with that. Okay, the lowest brainwave activity is called delta, and it's under 4 hertz. These waves can produce a euphoric state and have the ability to reduce pain, anger, and irritability. They promote an overall state of well-being, but too much of them could cause learning problems and severe ADHD. However, too little of them can hinder our immune system. We cannot achieve deep sleep without entering the next one, which is theta, and that's between 4 and 7 hertz. These are the waves present in deep meditation. They also help increase memory and focus, but too much of them can cause depression. The next brainwave is called beta. It's between 13 and 39 hertz, and it's responsible for active, busy thinking, concentration, and arousal. Too many of these may cause adrenaline, anxiety, and high arousal, while too little may cause poor cognition and depression. So again, it's finding that balance in your life. The last and highest brainwave is called gamma, which is 40 hertz and above, and are present during higher mental activity and problem solving. However, too many gamma waves can induce high stress and anxiety, while too little of them can create depression. So that's what's actually going on in our body as far as when our brain, if our brain waves were to be measured by an EEG machine, those are the waves that would come up, was any of those that I had mentioned. So not sure how this is even treated in any type of psychological, neurological, anxiety, depression, because if they would actually maybe hook people up to an EEG and find out what's happening with their brain, then we can actually start to implement different brainwaves into our system to counteract whatever we're being imbalanced of. There's actually some really cool YouTube videos that have frequencies that you can listen to in your sleep. So there's things that you can literally do effortlessly. It's just having the information that is going to be helpful in deciding what works best for you. So you know, when you're around somebody and they have like bad energy or bad vibes, it's probably most likely because they have some unpleasant thoughts happening. You know, whether they're angry or sad or confused, right? So thoughts create frequencies not just inside of our bodies, but they actually create frequencies that project out into other people and out into the universe. So when people watch the news and they get in this fear and paranoia, look at fear. Fear is down here. Fear, anger, shame, guilt, disappointment, all those things are very, very low frequencies. So if you're one of those people that has the news on all day long and you're yelling at your TV and you're all angry all the time, you're not doing your body any justice. You know, you're actually making yourself sick, literally, physically sick. That's how, when we have low vibrations, and I've talked about this before, that's where sickness and dis-ease can come into play because we're not operating on a higher frequency. So thoughts, I like to talk a lot about them because it's the only thing that we really have control over. Right? I mean, we have control over what we eat as well. However, sometimes we think we're buying organic or whatever, and it's not. So we don't really have full control over what we eat. And even food that you grow at home, I mean, it could be contaminated water, it could be soil that's not good. I mean, so as much control as we think we have over what we put into our bodies through our mouths, the only thing that we really have 100% full control over is what's going on up here. So if we don't understand the dangers of what thoughts can actually do to our body, then we're not going to consciously catch those and change them, right? So I'm not advising people to not feel angry or to not feel fearful because we're humans and it's very important that we process all of our feelings and emotions. But that's the key word, is processing them, right? Staying in a state that is not beneficial for your mind or your body is going to cause you to be sick. I guarantee you 100%. Your immune system starts to get depleted. You're more susceptible to even catching the flu, or, more crazy viruses, or even cancer. People who stay in a very, 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 very depressed state for long periods of time have more health issues. Well, there's no coincidence that those are correlated, right? So we have to train ourselves and our minds to catch that, right? So yeah, feel into it, process it, but let it go. You gotta let that shit go. So I want to talk about some really other things that happen to our body when we have thoughts. I'm sure that you've heard the term dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. And then there's this last one that most people don't hear about called oxytocin, which is a very, very important one in feeling good. I mean, they're all ways of feeling good, but they're triggered by different things. So I want to talk about, so every thought that we have causes a neurochemical change that releases neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin. Those are responsible for our feelings of happiness, and thoughts can activate those. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those. So dopamine is associated with taking action, desires, and needs. Low levels of dopamine will create procrastination, self-doubt, and lack of enthusiasm. There have been studies showing that by increasing gamma and beta waves, we can increase dopamine. Endorphins are usually released during exercise and are responsible for alleviating stress and anxiety. They also are natural painkillers. Depletion of those may cause depression and anxiety. Beta waves may help increase endorphins as well as exercise. Serotonin is activated when we feel significant and important. Depletion of that may cause feeling of loneliness. Studies have shown that alpha waves, as well as thinking about achievements, can increase serotonin. Alpha waves also increase oxytocin, which is known as the bonding chemical. Oxytocin is released when we physically bond. Even just a 20-second hug can release this feel-good chemical. Releasing oxytocin will reduce cardiovascular stress and improve immune system. Low levels will cause depression and anxiety. So those two words, depression and anxiety, keep coming up. Why? Well, because our bodies are not high vibe frequencies, whether it's through foods, whether it's through thoughts, whether it's through the chemicals that you're using in your house, or the chemicals that you're putting on your skin, which get absorbed into your body. So anything of a low vibrational frequency is going to affect your health. It's going to affect your moods. So being that we have full control over our thoughts, I want you guys to really think about when you're feeling not great, what you can do to change your thinking, okay? And gratitude, I've mentioned gratitude. Gratitude is the biggest one that you can do, right? So you're feeling down and you just spiral. I get it, it happens. Sometimes some people drink, some people have comfort food. That's all going to make you feel worse, and it's just like this never-ending spiral of eating something, thinking something bad, feeling worse, so that you want to eat something bad, and it just goes back and forth and back and forth. So I know it's really hard sometimes to pull yourself out. I was just there even recently. Everybody goes through it. I know better. We all know better. It's not anything to get down on yourself about. It's not anything to, beat yourself up over. But consciously get to that moment where you can say, you know what, I've had enough. Because feeling depressed feels shitty. Feeling anxious feels shitty. So what can we do? What can we do to change our thoughts? Well, first thing that we can do is mindfully change them, right? And say, I'm not depressed, I'm happy, right? Even if you're not happy, saying it actually might trigger something in your body, but you actually really have to feel it. Because when you have a thought, it sends a vibration through your body based off of a feeling, right? So how about things that make you happy, like puppies, and maybe the beach, right? So when you can distract yourself with things that make you happy, then you can start thinking happy, right? So if you really can't just muster up the strength to get outside of your head and change your thoughts, then just distract yourself. Go outside, start looking around, like literally smell the flowers. There's a reason why they say stop and smell the roses, because that will distract you, and that will actually send positive vibrations and thoughts through your body, because you're thinking like, wow, what a beautiful flower, right? Even though you're like saying it with a sad state or a sad feeling, again, your brain cannot distinguish the difference between your rational thought and what's actually happening. So just trick your body. Trick your body by exposing yourself to things that make you feel good when you're not feeling bad. Because thoughts are things, and I'm going to keep expressing that. Thoughts are things, so be careful with your thoughts, right? And that also includes how we think about other people, right? How we have like, oh, I didn't like that person, or that person made me angry, okay? One of my favorite quotes, and there's lots of really good quotes in my book, but one of my favorite quotes is, anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Because people aren't really affected by your anger. Most people don't care. Even if you're right in front of them and you're angry, they're just going to get either angry back or they're going to ignore you. But when you hold on to those types of feelings, you're the only one that's suffering. You're the only one making yourself sick. So what purpose does that serve? Why do we hold on to those feelings? Why do we, harp on things that do nobody any service? Staying angry. That's why forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, all of those high vibrational frequencies are what we should be practicing on a daily basis. And, it saddens me. God, I almost got super emotional. It saddens me that, they're... that's why I don't watch the news. It's all like, hate this race, hate this, hate... Muslims, this, that, and all the crime that they show is always like towards a specific race or demographic. And it's like, it's causing people to have these feelings that we have no business having. Like, mind your business, basically. Seriously. Like, unless somebody comes and invades your home and your personal space, just let it go. Have compassion. Understand that people have different processes in their lives, and that's not for us to judge, right? Judgment is a huge cause of these thoughts of disgust and anger and sadness and all these lower vibrational thoughts. So I just encourage you to practice more gratitude and compassion. When you feel those triggers that are coming from your brain patterning, just know that you have full control of counteracting them and intercepting them. Okay, so, that was pretty intense. See, thoughts are things, I'm having all these emotions, all this energy is going through my body right now. Generally, get all good. So, I want to thank you guys for joining me for Frequency Fun Friday. I hope you're having fun, and if not, go have some because it's Friday, but you should have fun every day anyway. I do some complimentary consults for people that want to know a little bit more about their energetic environment and perhaps if there's something in there that needs to be cleared. I also work with clearing some brain patterning and stuff like that. So feel free to reach out. My website is actually on the top of this link under the name of this week's Frequency Fun Friday subject, which is Thoughts Are Things. Remember that. Thoughts are things and they're so important. So please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be gentle. Always remember to breathe and have lots of gratitude. I'm very grateful for all of you. Thank you for joining me. I'm here every Friday, at least for the summer, and we'll see how it goes, at 2 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy your day, enjoy your weekend, and I love you.